Those FRQ1 and question A. So both of the potential buildings have been labeled as brownfield sites because, well, they were previously used before and then they were abandoned and they're currently affected by the presence of some kind of pollutant. So in the dry cleaning business, there's CI2C and naphtha, and the garage has curbside gasoline discharge. And as for legislation that handles these kind of things, there's the brownfield program, which handles polluted areas such as these brownfield sites. And this isn't to be confused with the Superfund Act, which involves the EPA and is reserved for the most hazardous areas in the country. And in terms of health risks at each location, at the dry cleaning business, you are at risk from suffering from exposure to the chemical perchloroethylene, and that can cause life-changing conditions like kidney dysfunction, neurological changes, and affects coordination. And on top of that, there's also the presence of naphtha, which can cause discomfort through nose and throat irritation, nausea and headaches, and etc. And at the garage, there is gasoline discharge, and when you're exposed to that and inhale it for long periods of time, you will initially experience some discomfort similar to the symptoms of naphtha, but at extremely high levels, it can cause fainting and even death. In terms of which site I'm gonna buy, I chose to buy the garage because at the dry cleaning business, there are two things you need to clean up, right? Perchloroethylene and naphtha. And that's not even taking into consideration the added work that brings. You gotta, like, perchloroethylene is incredibly troublesome to get rid of because it requires the excavation and removal of contaminated soil. And for the gasoline discharge at the garage, I feel like that the only required work is that you just need to clean up the spill and maybe seal off the area where the gasoline is leaking from. So my main problem with the dry cleaning business is that the soil under the building might be contaminated, which brings even more problems for cleanup. Okay. So the problem with asbestos is that it's not harmful, but when it's released in the air, that's when it becomes harmful, right? And that's exactly what happens when you remove asbestos from the wall, and that's sort of why you need professional help when you do. And the reason why you wouldn't want to risk it is that one of the health hazards associated with exposure to asbestos is lung cancer, which no one really wants. Um, so plastic waste needs to be recycled because of I would say because of its physical properties. So plastic takes a really long time for it to break down, and that's quite the understatement in that it takes literally hundreds of years for it to break down. And another characteristic of its physical properties is that in the ocean, tossed plastic turns into microplastics, which can be devastating to marine life. So, right, in the ocean, these fish will see these pieces of plastic, right? And then they'll eat it, and then it'll contribute to a biomagnification problem, and that maybe a bigger fish will eat that, and then another big fish will eat that fish, and then the microplastics will just build up. And that's not even counting the fact that those big fish might eat the little plastics as well. And either way, plastic breaking down can lead to just toxic substances leaching into the soil and in the ocean. So recycling is the way to go. And the type of recycling that is used for plastic is called open loop recycling, where when you recycle a product, you turn it into a different product. And it's not really the best form of recycling because it not only requires more energy to do so compared to closed loop recycling, which is when you break a product down and turn it into a similar product, but it also results in the products, like the materials quality being down. So, and that'll make the final product worse, which no one really wants. And that's the last question. Thank you.